Welcome to Dwell. This is Robin Stoops. We're about to discover the Bible in a fresh new way. In this podcast, we're going to be joined by pastors and people who will listen for the Holy Spirit to speak. Here's how it's going to work. We'll hear a passage read by two people, one male, one female. While they read the passage, we'll listen for words and phrases that catch our attention. Together as a group, we'll share the insight God gives us as we dwell in His Word. Each podcast will be an adventure in discovering what the Spirit is saying to the church. Tonight we're going to be looking at the passage in Luke where Jesus tells the story of the prodigal son. We're going to have two women read the text first, and while they read, we're going to be listening for the Holy Spirit to speak, and then we'll hear two male voices read the text a second time. So join us as we look to the Gospel of Luke, chapter 15, verses 11 through 32.
Jesus continued, "There was a man who had two sons. The younger one said to his father, 'Father, give me my share of the estate.' So he divided his property between them. Not long after that, the younger son got together all he had, set off for a distant country, and there squandered his wealth in wild living. After he had spent everything, there was a severe famine in that whole country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to a citizen of that country, who sent him to his fields to feed pigs. He longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. When he came to his senses, he said, 'How many of my father's hired men have food to spare, and here I am starving to death? I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired men.' So he got up and went to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. The son said to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son.' But the father said to his servants, 'Quick, bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the fattened calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and he is found.' So they began to celebrate.
Meanwhile, the older son was in the field. When he came near the house, he heard music and dancing. So he called one of the servants and asked him what was going on. 'Your brother has come home,' he replied, 'and your father has killed the fattened calf because he has him back safe and sound.' The older brother became angry and refused to go in. So his father went out and pleaded with him. But he answered his father, 'Look, all these years I've been slaving for you and never disobeyed your orders. Yet you never gave me even a young goat so that I could celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours who has squandered your property with prostitutes comes home, you kill the fattened calf for him.' 'My son,' the father said, you are always with me, and everything I have is yours. But we had to celebrate and be glad because this brother of yours was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found.'"
Let's take a moment and again, just listen for the Spirit to speak to us through His Word.
Jesus continued, "There was a man who had two sons. The younger one said to his father, 'Father, give me my share of the estate.' So he divided his property between them. Not long after that, the younger son got together all he had, set off for a distant country, and there squandered his wealth in wild living. After he had spent everything, there was a severe famine in the whole country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to a citizen of that country, who sent him to his fields to feed pigs. He longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. When he came to his senses, he said, "How many of my father's hired men have food to spare, and here I am starving to death? I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired men.' So he got up and went to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. The son said to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son.' But the father said to his servants, 'Quick, bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the fattened calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found.' So they began to celebrate."
Meanwhile, the older son was in the field. When he came near the house, he heard music and dancing. So he called one of the servants and asked him what was going on. "Your brother has come," he replied, "and your father has killed the fatted calf because he has him back safe and sound." The older brother became angry and refused to go in. So his father went out and pleaded with him. But he answered his father, "Look, all these years I've been slaving for you and never disobeyed your orders. Yet you never gave me even a young goat so that I could celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours, who has squandered your property with prostitutes, comes home, you kill the fatted calf for him." "My son," the father said, "you are always with me, and everything I have is yours. But we had to celebrate and be glad, because this brother of yours was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found."
Great. Thank you. Such a great story, and a great place to kind of contemplate what God might be saying to us. So, what did you hear? What jumps out at you?
The compassion,
The compassion?
yes.
Okay.
Well, first of all, the father thought he was dead.
Yeah.
Good. And then he had hope when he saw him come back.
Yeah. Yeah. I was amazed as I read through it this time. It struck me that I don't know that I've seen this before, but the father responds with the compassion before the son repents.
Yes.
So he's not waiting on the son to say, "I'm sorry." He goes out and runs to his son before he knows any of that. Doesn't know any of the story. Wow.
Two sons. How many times in the Bible there's two sons?
Yeah.
And the issues between the two of them.
Yeah.
So that hit me right away.
What else?
One of the things I noticed is the son, as he's coming, the prodigal son, when he's coming back, he kind of works out what he's going to say to his father before he gets there. So he's gone through his mind. But the order in which he asks for forgiveness is interesting. He says, "Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you." So he's placed heaven in front of his father, which is appropriate, but I never really thought about that before. So
Yeah.
he's at least got things in the right priority. It sounds like, after he's coming home.
That's good.
In the son that asks for his inheritance from his father, I see our culture today. We're too impatient to wait and see the glory of God and the riches that he has for us. We want them now.
Yeah, well, looking at this passage, realizing, and I don't know, again, different things hit you different ways, but, I mean, he would have had to sell half of his everything that he owned to give it to the son. don't know that I really thought that through too deeply before. You know, it's not a matter of he just gave him a little bit of money or even a lot of money, but he sold half of what he owned and gave it to his son. That's crazy. First of all, what an act of grace.
Indeed.
Right there, and with no restrictions. You know, you can't spend it on this or you can't do that. Just, okay, here's half.
Or I'll give you an allowance.
Yeah.
He gave it with nothing. I mean, it's yours.
Yeah, yeah.
Half of what I have is yours.
Sometimes I think we're a lot like the older brother in that how could God forgive them for what they did? Don't you know what you did? And yeah.
You're talking about judging, huh?
Yeah, well, pretty much. I mean, I was good and he was bad, and so he should be punished and I should have all of it. So, I mean, that's who we are. I think that we see, we sit there and we simply concentrate on ourselves, because that's what he's doing there. Is I'm building all this up just for me, and the young brother comes back and he's forgiven. It reminds me of that phrase of even the vilest offender who truly believes that moment from Jesus a pardon. He said, well, there's a lot of us that would not want that to happen for those people.
Yeah.
That's right.
They don't deserve it.
Well, of course they don't. No.
Yeah. I was thinking earlier, okay, so if the father divided everything into halves, two sons, and he gives half to the prodigal son, so everything that's left is the other sons. So the fatted calf and the robe and the ring is the older sons, actually.
Good point.
You know, I mean, isn't that crazy? I never thought about that before, but it's like the father doesn't really have anything anymore. I mean, he hasn't given it maybe to the older son yet, but, you know, half was given to the younger son. So anything now that's used is really the older son's.
Wow.
Good.
Isn't that wild?
And when the father is explaining to the older son why he's rejoicing having the prodigal son back, he's the words he uses is or the words that are here anyway. But we had to celebrate. We had to. Yeah. This your son or my son was dead. Now he's alive. We had to have a party, basically.
Yeah.
Just emphasizing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the relational dynamics at play throughout this telling, is because they both always refer to the father as my father, right? It's like they both see the father as their father, almost singular, absent relationship of the brother. It's not our father, it's my father. And then the elder son refers to his brother as, you know, this son of yours. And even the servants that he summons and says what's going on, they said, you know, your brother is back. And then later in verse 31, you know, you've always with me and all that mine is yours. Maybe I missed something here. Oh, verse 32. We have to celebrate and rejoice, like you just said, but this brother of yours was dead and has come back. There's this emphasis that the father's like trying to reconnect them as brothers. They both want to own him as father,
But they don't want to.
but they don't want to own each other.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting how they're both equally selfish. You know, they just do it differently. They're both wrong. You know.
Yeah, the last time I preached this, I talked about the prodigal being kind of consumer Christianity, and the older brother being the old guard, you know, the legalists of the church. And it's interesting to me that it looks like what the father really wants is to have a relationship with his sons. Nothing else really matters. And I think, wow, if that's what Jesus was trying to say to the scribes and the Pharisees is, you know, what God really wants, what I really want is a relationship with you.
And for you to have a relationship with one another.
Yeah, that's that second part that you just,
And yet he gives us the ability, like the first son, to live our life however we choose. And no matter what we do, one of the things that jumped out, I have sinned against heaven and you. I'm no longer worthy. Yet Jesus coming made us all worthy.
But that does hold a lot of people back.
It does.
Feeling that,
It does.
Yeah.
well, how could he forgive what I did? No.
Yeah, I've sat with people that have said, I'm not worthy. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you're right, you're not. None of us are.
But it's Jesus who is worthy.
That's right. Yeah.
And then the celebrate part, the robe, the fatted calf, is that heaven? I mean, none of us know, but is that a little bit of heaven on earth?
I just can't believe he wasn't mad for just a little bit. Yeah, I mean, just, I told you, that this was a dumb idea, but that's not there. It's just, I mean, the fact that he ran to meet his son, he embraced him, received him, without ever hearing the confession or the repentance.
Well, sort of, Bob pointed out at the beginning was he thought he was dead.
Right.
I guess up to this point he was probably grieving.
Yeah.
So,
I assume so.
it's like any parent, they get frustrated with their kids when they're like running out in the middle of the road or something, but then they're really like super glad they're not.
Well, he's
hit by
probably
a
out there
car.
busy living it up, and he didn't have time to
Yeah,
contact his father
yeah, he didn't.
or his
know.
brother or anybody.
Right.
But this really reminds me of a situation that happened in our family. My only son left Omaha probably right after high school. And he was gone. Well, no, he graduated. We knew he left Omaha. He went to Denver to go to college. And for some reason, we never heard from him. We heard from him for a little while. And we never heard from him for 17 years. 17 years.
Wow.
I went there looking for him. I would always miss where he was. And his father was really sick at the time, and he would always say, he said, I'm just praying, I just want to see my son one last time. I was not living in Omaha at the time. I was living in San Diego. And my daughter called, she said, Mother, you're not going to believe this. Johnny showed up on the doorstep. And it was just like in the scripture. He thought he was dead, but he was alive. And it just, it was just like nothing had happened. Nothing. So, that brought me back to these scriptures.
Yeah, I bet. That's cool. What else?
I'm struck again by just the relational dynamics and what Craig said earlier about how many brothers are in the Bible and how they're always, we kind of joke in our culture about sibling rivalry just being normal and inevitable and almost comical, but normal. In the biblical story, it's always seen as with sorrow. Jacob and Esau, Cain and Abel. Whenever there is division between brothers, it's a problem. It's a sign in the story that something bad's about to happen, and so Joseph and all his brothers, and so it's on, and then you have the tribes, warring with each other, and that's what sort of leads to their weakness as a nation, to the exile. And so it's just a sign that something sad's happening here, but it just leaves you with a question. The Father doesn't tell us what happens next. We had to celebrate. This brother of yours was dead, but he's come back to life. He was lost and has been found, and you're just kind of left with the father waiting for a response from the elder brother, not knowing. It's like the ball's in the listener's court now. What do you do with this story? How do you react?
But it's being, for me, I think it's being left there for you to make your own determination as to what
Right.
happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the Bible's full of stories like that, don't really have
Yeah.
conclusions.
Well, and what struck me with what you were just saying, all of those are illustrations of the hurt, the damage, everything that bad can happen when, as family, Christian family, does not get along, when we bring in the sibling rivalry within our brotherhood, our sisterhood of Christians. It's kind of like Scripture tells us that that's not going to work.
Yeah.
And that's not what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, and that's context of this passage is Jesus is talking to the Pharisees, the scribes, the religious leaders of the day that don't get this relational part of what God's really trying to do in terms of reaching to us. And I think one of the reasons the story's not finished is because it's so apparent of what really is being said here that you couldn't miss it,
We even have the mixed crowd, right? So 15:1 says, tax collectors, sinners were coming near to listen to him, and the Pharisees and the scribes. And that's the audience.
Yeah, that's right.
Who's hearing this.
So they're like, yes, the
Yeah.
prodigal son he was received back even though he was a dog,
Right, yeah. I mean, that's the yay, tax collector, sinner
Yeah,
sign.
the
and
Pharisees
then you got
are
the
like-
elders who are like the Pharisees.
This isn't good.
And as you were describing that, I just thought of another example of David's sons, right? I mean, the
Oh,
chaos in
yeah.
David's own household basically led to the downfall of the dynasty, the Davidic lineage, because his own sons were at war with each other. It's just chaos. Every time in the Bible there's brothers, there's chaos.
Why is it only sons? There were daughters too. So I mean, it was. it
The
was just-
culture, I think.
Yeah.
Scripture was written at a time when,
Men were in power, right?
right, and if the women were having disagreements and arguments, they weren't seen as
They weren't
important.
vocal. Probably not even.
Well, you've
vocal.
got the story of like Dinah, right, and the brothers who go to fight on her behalf.
Yeah.
Or you've got
Ruth, her whole story.
Mhm.
Ruth's story, or the
Esther's
Absalom, getting with the one guy's sister and causing the whole fight in
Mhm.
David's family to begin with. And so, I mean, I think they're present. They're just, like you're saying, they're not nearly lifted up
Right.
as much as the men, that's for sure. Could be why there's so much emphasis on Mary being the mother of Jesus. So women are important in this story.
We are.
Absolutely.
I mean, Luke lifts up women more than just about any gospel writer, for sure.
But it doesn't end that they live happily ever after.
What?
What do you mean?
No, it doesn't say
No.
that.
We don't know. We don't know what happened.
But I don't think,
And it's not important.
no, I don't think you have to
The-
have
the
to have
point's
that in the
been
parable.
made.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
The point was
The point
made.
has been made.
Yeah.
That's a really good comment, I think. Yeah, especially for that crowd. And I think that kind of gets back to where we are in the church today, where we think we have the answers, or we think we have the way that God would have us to go, and we don't realize how much we've constructed and how much we've pushed aside maybe what God's calling us to do and to be as a
And the
church.
petty jealousies that exist in congregations.
Oh my, yeah.
No.
Well, not in ours, of course.
Yeah. But I mean, again, I keep coming back to, I'm just struck by how that's grievous.
Yes, it's
It's,
grieving.
and in our culture, we tend to just say, well, it's normal.
Well, just as the father ran out to meet the prodigal, when he finds out the older son is not coming in, he doesn't just say, "Oh well."
he
He
goes
goes
out
out
to him
and
And he
also.
seeks his older son
Went
out
out
in
and
the
pleaded
same
with
way.
him.
There's
He
grace
wants- he
in
wants
both
them both.
direction. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
He wants a relationship with both. He wants to connect with both, which is also, I think, part of that story and audience of the day. Kind of cool.
Mm.
Very good.
Anybody else? Go
But
ahead,
the
Bob.
prodigal son, he didn't do anything about his condition until he ran out of stuff.
That's true.
You know, he ran out of.
That's true.
Well, you know, he hit bottom.
That's real. I mean, that's real.
And and I think, you know, in dealing with whether it's whatever addiction it might be, they have to
Yeah.
hit bottom to realize that this is not what this ain't cool anymore.
This isn't nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's willing to go back and be his father's hired man.
Yeah.
You know, I don't
Just
need to be
behind
son.
him,
I
yeah.
just want someplace to be warm and that'll feed me. Yeah.
I'm starving to death.
Yeah.
I'll go back
Yeah.
to my father and work for as a hired hand. Be happy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's quite the transformation for him.
But I say that still goes on though.
Oh, yeah.
Not just in this story here. Not just in this parable.
Final thoughts? Well, thank you. This is dwelling in the Word. And it's rich and it's great because we hear what the Spirit is saying to the church. Amen.
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 Amen.